Okay, so we're working in Flash, and in Flash, what we're going to do is we're going to use, we're going to redraw these Mr. Beans so that we could actually make movement. I want you guys to actually try to use, I want you guys to use the pen tool. The pen tool is the fifth tool down, and if you click and hold, it'll show you the other options that you can use within the pen tool after you actually draw something. Um, if you've noticed, I've separated out the Flash files to have several different layers. So the layers are named original art, which this is the original art, and I can turn it off. The back arm, the body, and the front arm. So each part that moves needs to have its own layer, so that the computer knows what's moving and how it's moving. First, we're going to draw all the shapes, and in another tutorial, we'll go in and show how the movement's going to go. So here's the pen tool, and this, for those of you who had Illustrator and graphic design, is basically the Bezier pen tool, where you click and drag, which helps you then create the curve itself. So as you click and drag, it's making your curve. The less points, the cleaner the curves are going to be. The more points, it will then become a little bit more jaggier. So I drew all those curves there. I can come in and we can now go in and fill our, and we can now change it up. So with our selection tool, we can come back in and start moving our points around to control the curves that we created. Now, like I said, the more curves, the more points, the a little bit more bumpier it is. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete a curve over here, and I'm going to then make it a little bit more smoother by deleting the curve. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make your three shapes, and then from there we will then create the other sections, which will then be the arms. And the arms can just be drawn. Um, so the arms will be drawn with the pencil or the brush tool, whichever you feel a little bit more comfortable with. So here's my second shape. That's pretty much on. I can go back and fix it a little bit more later if I want to. And here's our simplest one because it almost is just like a ball that's getting stretched out. So this one could take basically 4 points. And once we fill it in, we can go back in and start controlling how we want it to then curve. So I'll move that up. I'll make it stretch so that the oval comes out a little bit more. Make this oval come out a little bit more here at the bottom. And you notice that with 4 points, we have a little bit more control of how the curves are going to be, and you're less jaggedy. Come back here and clean this up as well. So So by using the pen tool, it allows you to have a little bit more control of each individual object. So I drew it on the wrong line. So I made a mistake. So I'm gonna call this body now. And I'm gonna call this arm, if I could type. And I'll just move them around. So I'm gonna turn off my body so you don't see the body, and now I can actually draw the front arm. So on the front arm, I'm going to come in with my pencil tool, and I like using the smooth pencil tool because it'll clean up my lines. This is very thin, if you guys can see that. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to make my brush bigger by clicking on the bracket key second away from the P, which makes your brush bigger and smaller. So now my brush is bigger, and it gives me a little bit more control of how I want the arm to be. So This is controlling my arm, and now I'm allowing that to be on that upper layer, and we'll draw our third layer in just a minute. So we can fill this in as well, or you can just keep on drawing with it. So on our third layer, so now you have your bean and the front arm, and now we're going to draw our back arm. So that will be on that third layer, so make sure you're clicking on that layer. So this will allow them to individually move rather than having to draw each frame. The computer will be able to then individually create the movement between all of those. Okay, so this is our goal for today, is to draw your three beans with the movement of the arms and on three different layers so that each individual layer will move on its own. So good luck.